Kia ora everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is Creative Curiosity. I'm your host. My name is Haunui. Today is going to be probably the most real podcast I've ever done. And by real, I mean one where I'm actually sharing some deep down stuff that I just discovered today. So let me take you on a journey, and I hope this can help you with whatever you're going through, wherever you are in your life. I hope this can help you with that, and I'm sure it will. So this morning, before I had a shower, I sat down and did some meditation in the room, did some in the sun. And the meditation that I did was one that was guided by Tony Robbins. I just had my headphones in, and there's a video, if you YouTube it, Tony Robbins meditation. It's 15 minutes long about there. And it's a meditation I've done before, but if you've done meditation, you know that there are times where you can go deep easily, and there are times where you feel like you're just struggling to stay in that meditation, and you feel like you'd rather not do it. So listening to his voice, there was one part he got to, and you have your eyes closed, and there was a part where he asks you to have both your hands on your heart, and had both my hands on my heart, and he said, think of something that you want to heal and let it be healed. And straight away, one thing that came to me was jealousy and envy. And what I mean by this is, I thought about all the times when I was jealous of my friends or people that I know who are doing well for themselves. And obviously, that's a feeling that nobody wants to feel. Maybe it's something that you don't want to admit. It's something that I didn't want to admit because it felt yuck, feels ugly, feeling jealous of somebody that you love, people that you care about. So I really just sat there and just felt it. And Tony Robbins was still talking during this process. And I thought about it and tried to make sense of it. And the way that I sort of made sense of it was going back to my childhood. And I've talked about this in an older podcast, 2 episodes ago, about being talented and how that made me lazy. So in this instance, I thought about my whole life leading up to this point, especially when I was younger. I was just naturally talented, and because of that, I did really well in my art. And from doing really well in my art, I got a lot of praise and got a lot of props, all of those sorts of public congratulations, those sort of things. I was in the newspapers and stuff as a kid for doing well. And this meditation this morning, I try to think about all of those times during childhood, and how I've sort of helped it make sense to me was realizing that I was chasing that, that approval and that praise. Because obviously, if you've ever received that sort of thing, it feels good, whether you like to admit that it's a good thing to feel good because of it or not. And then the way that I had viewed it, and that I still view it to some degree now, this just happened this morning, so I'm still in that process of, working through these sort of underlying feelings that I have. Is, to me, it was like, if you imagine there's a pie, and that pie is appreciation for you. And for me, why I think I've felt jealous and envious of people who are close to me is it's felt like my pie of appreciation has had to be shared, and I didn't want to share it, because I've been used to being the only person eating from their pie. Sharing it all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but sharing it has helped me to realize that, it made me jealous, it made me envious, it made me, what's the other word? I can't think of the word. You sort of know what I'm saying though. And it felt like, if I had to share it, then I couldn't feel as good about myself. I felt like people were taking away from me for doing well themselves. And when I was feeling that during that meditation, I just felt like yuck. Like felt like I could feel it here, like right in my throat, and felt like that feeling you get when you're trying to hold down a spew. That's sort of what it felt like. And then Tony Robbins, all the while still talking, he got to a bit where he said, "And now let it be healed," or something like that, something along those lines. Just heal it. It's healed. And where I went to from there was to kapa haka. So I performed for Tawira Mai Tawhiti and whānau Apanui pretty much before getting the whole bracket underway. The leader will say Apanui e tū. And when they say that, you lift your head up and you stand with pride. And that's what I did when Tony Robbins said, "It is healed," or "let it be healed." Like I had my eyes closed, felt yuck as, and then he said that, and then I just took a deep breath and went, and just sat there, like feeling proud of myself for going through that ugly feeling, for feeling those things, not for feeling those things, but for letting it fester, or not letting myself go into that earlier and try and sort it out. And then after that, I just felt like I had the wind knocked out of me, and I just laid down. My darling was there, just lying down, and I was just like far out, just closed my eyes for a bit and just did some deep breaths. And it felt good. Like it felt good to actually feel through all of that pain. Like it was pain, it's suffering. If you feel like that and you don't want to, and you don't do anything about it, you're suffering. Because I was suffering. There are other things that I'm suffering right now that I'm not aware of, or that I haven't given enough time to. Then I went and had my shower, came out, felt good, and then I knew that I wanted to talk to my brother Rans, Raniera, plant-based Māori, because he was one of the people that I was jealous of. And I know I'm one of his biggest fans. I'm super, super proud of all the things that he does. But, feeling jealous of him for his achievements and how well he's doing is like the opposite, and it's perplexing. It's, it's a dichotomy. You feel like you're torn between two things. One thing is how you feel and how you should feel. And then one other thing is the opposite, which kind of negates that. And I knew I had to just talk to. It was hard, it was hard to just be able to get through there, because what your mind does is you think of the worst case scenario. Like some of the things that went in my head was like, oh frick, what if he's like gutted that I feel like that about him? Those things, those thoughts, those ideas that come to your mind are not you. Those ain't me. And so, I had a conversation with him, had a cool talk, and I told him how I was feeling and all the things that I'd experienced. And just the act of unloading, the act of talking actually made me feel a lot better. And with him talking to me as well, saying like, like he feels the same way too sometimes, and everybody feels like that sometimes. And then he gave me a good piece of advice, which was, think about looking at it from another angle, instead of feeling jealous, which you ain't, deep down, that you couldn't possibly be jealous of them when they're doing well for themselves. Another way to look at it is to think of it as encouragement, instead of looking at him and seeing how well he's doing and feeling jealous, to look at it and go, man, like I feel encouraged, he's pumping, he's doing some good mahi. I feel inspired to do more, to be more. So just reframing it like that it's been a big thing. I felt super light after that conversation with him as well. And this leads me on to something that I thought I knew deep down, but I didn't, which was being authentic and being true to yourself. And that came about because I listened to the podcast that he did with Nicola, Cooked Whānau Kōrero with Nix. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it on his podcast, Planting Seeds. And what I saw and what I heard and what I felt was two people just being themselves. And I've been myself most of the time, but there are parts of me that still battle with that judgment and being scared to put yourself out there for some reasons. And then if you watched my story last night, I was talking about every now and then I sort of get reminded of death and how we have loved ones who have passed on. And the way I frame it in my mind when I let myself go there is thinking about my whānau who have passed away, my tupuna who have passed away, and how, a lot of them didn't have a long life or a full life where they got to fulfill all the dreams and aspirations that they had. And when I think about that, I think about myself now and the opportunity that I have to live a fulfilled life. And doing that is, I believe, where I am right now. Obviously, I'm still going to keep learning, but where I am right now, I believe the way that I can live a fulfilled life is to be authentically myself and always try my hardest to keep listening to my heart and keep following that, because what my mind tends to do, which is common among a lot of people, is, you try to make sense of everything. That's what we do as a human race. And you try to, I'll speak for myself. I try to bring things down to logic. And recently I've just really tried to just surrender to just feeling through some things, even if I can't explain why. And it's been really uplifting, and it's helped bring a lot of perspective to the way I lead my life now. And if you've been watching over the last month, you've seen that I've been going hard, and this has been one big part of it, is from a wairua perspective, spiritual side, is trying to fill all those kete. And the way to do that for me has been just trying to surrender, which is admittedly a hard thing to do. But through making these videos and through making these podcasts and through just trying to show up every single day, it makes it a bit easier, and I feel all the better for it. Like just doing this episode today, right now with you fellas, I feel lighter. You can probably tell in the way that I'm talking. Like I'm talking slower, probably more purposeful, less ums and ahs. And part of the reason now that I know is it's that fear of judgment. This episode has been a bit of a roller coaster, as you can tell, but I hope you fellas take some value away from this. These are my thoughts at the moment. I'll continue to keep sharing new discoveries that I have about myself, and new conversations that I have with people that are insightful and valuable. And I'll continue to try to be myself. I'm not going to succeed all the time, but the more I try, the more I give myself a chance to succeed. And I think we'll end it on that. I hope you fellas enjoyed this podcast. Please share this to whoever you know that needs to hear this. Just know that if you're going through it right now, you're obviously not alone, even if it feels like that. Have a good day. I'll see you fellas in the next one, which will be Friday with my friend Tia. And I'll talk about that one later, but I'll see you fellas later. Mauri ora, this is Creative Curiosity. My name is Te Haunui Tuna. Have a good day.